Hey guys, I thought I'd go ahead and give a progress report on this project I've been tackling this season. Earlier this year I had posted a video where I had some areas of my front yard where I had Mondo grass that had been slowly invading over the past several years, and I attempted to kill it all off with Roundup using a certain technique where I was using a sponge to essentially apply the Roundup to the very tips of the Mondo grass while not affecting the St. Augustine. In doing so, I did damage some of the St. Augustine, and also the Roundup was not entirely effective in killing off all of the Mondo grass. So what I ended up doing was I did cut it out, and I did that using a manual sod cutter, which was a lot of work, but ultimately yielded good results. And then what I did was, in some of the healthier areas of my yard, I basically took my edger and cut out some 6-inch width rows, and then sliced it also with the edger every 6 inches to create essentially little plugs or little small pieces of sod. And then what I did was remove those sections of sod using a flat shovel and transplanted them within the areas where I cut out the Mondo grass and what St. Augustine was actually there mixed in within that Mondo grass. So this is kind of to show you the status. This is several months later. I think this started back in May, and we're now at the end of September. So you can see it has not filled out entirely. There's still some spacing in between each one of these plugs, is what I'll call it, but you can see that it is actually spreading within. So it hasn't spread as much as I would have hoped. I would have liked at this point in time, the end of the growing season, as the season's wrapping up, this would have filled up entirely, but it's just not the case. So it looks like it's going to take a second season to actually fill in. This area here sees a lot more sunlight, and as a result it actually has done much better. Now, there was a point early in the year around June where I was having a lot of weed penetration. I did do pre-emergent split applications early in the year, but as you imagine, as I cut all this out, that pretty much broke down that barrier. So I did have a lot of weed infiltration in each one of these areas, although overall the yard is standing up pretty well. So what I did was I did apply an application of Celsius, and it was effective in killing off the weeds, but it did actually hinder the growth of the St. Augustine. I lost, I would say, probably about 3 weeks of growth right there in the prime growing season. So that didn't work in my favor. So again, I've got weed penetration again around 2 here. So rather than spraying it again with Celsius, I'm actually just letting it do its thing, and I'm manually pulling weeds as I see them. That way I get full advantage of what growing time I have left. As far as fertilization treatments, I've just been treating these areas at the same rate I've been treating the entire lawn. I do about 3 to 4 pounds of nitrogen over the growing season, and I don't know if maybe, I could have improved the progress by hitting these sections a little bit more with some nitrogen. I don't know, but this particular section here actually sees a lot more shade, and also the slope, I don't know if you can pick up on it, but this ground is sloped, and it's actually creating opportunities for runoff. So that's been a challenge as well. So a lot of the water, when it rains, will actually run off this area, and in doing so, I'd imagine would actually take away some of those nutrients I would have applied by fertilizer. So there were a couple times where I did just hit each one of these areas with a real small application of a liquid fertilizer, just like a 1200 that I picked up at local Home Depot, just to try to help it along a bit without having to experience that chance of the nutrients actually being washed away with the rain. So there you have it. That shows you kind of what this looks like if you were to tackle something yourself, and what kind of results to expect. There's another YouTube channel called LKN DIY, where he has actually taken on a very large scale St. Augustine plug grow, and has done a fantastic job of kind of documenting its progress and sharing his lessons learned. So I encourage you to check that out if you've got some time.